I am on the side of those who delight in watching the roundup of illegal aliens being packed up and flown out of this country. I think it is a good thing. I think they should not be here. I think that one of the greatest deterrents we can have is to pack these people up and send them on their way. I think that what Donald Trump has done at the southern border is not just a success, but it shows you just how politically craven the Democrats were. And I continue to maintain the Democrats' embrace of illegal aliens is actually because they're trying to pad their margins in the Electoral College. If you are unaware of this theory, and it is a conspiracy theory, but I am totally embracing it, the census is how we determine representation in Congress. Representation in Congress is how we determine the votes in the Electoral College. Blue states are declining and red states are growing. The red states by 2030 are going to have a major advantage in the Electoral College. Texas, Florida, Georgia, other red states are going to see an increase in their representation in the Electoral College because people are moving to those states, so their census population is growing, which means their numbers in the House of Representatives are growing, which means they'll get more congressional seats, which means they'll get more Electoral College votes. The Electoral College is combined by adding together your number of senators, which is always 2, and your total number of the House of Representatives. So if your state has 10 members of Congress and 2 senators, your Electoral College vote is 12. Right now, California is the largest. New York is also significant. New York and California are in decline. New York and California, it is not a surprise, have thoroughly embraced illegal aliens to offset their population decline. Why? Because of the census. The more people you have in a state, the more money you get from the federal government, the more votes you have in the Electoral College. That's why they want illegal aliens. Oh, and guess what? The illegal aliens, they can't vote, typically. Sometimes California wants to turn a blind eye in local elections, but for sake of argument, it's against the law in federal elections for illegal aliens to vote, but they'll give you Electoral College votes so your good progressives in California and New York can maintain their clout. That's why they're embracing rampant illegal immigration. And Donald Trump rounding these people up and throwing them out of the country is a good thing. I also encourage Donald Trump to continue throwing out of the country students here on visas who are disruptive forces on college campuses championing Hamas. I think that's a good thing. There's a lot of outrage about a lady at Tufts University, Romesa Ozturk. Romesa Ozturk wrote an op-ed, and that op-ed was pro-Hamas. And I got to tell you that if it was just an op-ed that she wrote, I don't think she should be thrown out of the country. I think that one of the great things about this country is that we give others the privileges of what it means to be an American. So you can come here and speak and understand what it means to be an American. You can't speak up in your country, but you can here. But the State Department and Marco Rubio believe Ozturk did more than just speak up, that she also participated in activities on campuses that were pro-Hamas, that shut out Jewish students or otherwise harassed Jewish students. Now, I can't find evidence of it myself, but he says so. And he's being asked about this. I want to play you part of this from Marco Rubio, who was speaking at the State Department. They asked him, and he was specifically talking about this Ozturk lady who has been getting her degree at Tufts University.
We revoked her visa. It's an F1 visa, I believe. We revoked it, and here's why. And I'll say it again. I said it everywhere. Let me be abundantly clear, okay? If you go apply for a visa right now, anywhere in the world, let me just send this message out. If you apply for a visa to enter the United States and be a student, and you tell us that the reason why you're coming to the United States is not just because you want to write op-eds, but because you want to participate in movements that are involved in doing things like vandalizing universities, harassing students, taking over buildings, creating a ruckus, we're not going to give you a visa. If you lie to us and get a visa and then enter the United States and with that visa participate in that sort of activity, we're going to take away your visa. And once you've lost your visa, you're no longer legally in the United States, and we have a right, like every country in the world has a right, to remove you from our country. So it's just that simple. I think it's crazy. I think it's stupid for any country in the world to welcome people into their country that are going to go to your universities as visitors They're visitors. And say, I'm going to your universities to start a riot. I'm going to your universities to take over a library and harass people. I don't care what movement you're involved in. Why would any country in the world allow people to come and disrupt? Now, we gave you a visa to come and study and get a degree, not to become a social activist that tears up our university campuses. And if we've given you a visa and then you decide to do that, we're going to take it away. I encourage every country to do that, by the way, because I think it's crazy to invite students into your country that are coming onto your campus and destabilizing it. We're just not going to have it. So we'll revoke your visa, and once your visa is revoked, you're illegally in the country and you have to leave. Every country in the world has a right to decide who comes in as a visitor and who doesn't. If you invite me into your home because you say, I want to come to your house for dinner, and I go to your house and I start putting mud on your couch and spray painting your kitchen, I bet you're going to kick me out. But we're going to do the same thing if you come into the United States as a visitor and create a ruckus for us. We don't want it. We don't want it in our country. Go back and do it in your country. But you're not going to do it in our country.
I completely agree with what Marco Rubio says there. Completely agree. And he says if it was just an op-ed, that's no problem. We give people free speech in this country, but it was more than that. I haven't seen the proof on Ozturk that it was more than an op-ed. And the reason I'm concerned there is because there are a lot of people who say illegal aliens don't deserve due process. They can just be removed from the country. But how do we know they're illegal aliens? Now, you can yell at me for asking the question, but we're now up to 3 American citizens who have been detained by Immigration and Customs Enforcement. 3. You can say that's not a lot, and that's a fair point. But we got 3 American citizens now who have been detained by the United States government, and they were going to be deported until it turned out they were American citizens, and this is why you give due process. And due process doesn't have to be complex. It doesn't have to be significant. But we should really just make sure we're doing it right, because otherwise it opens the federal government up to massive lawsuits, and you and I as taxpayers pay these people a lot of money because they were wrongly detained. And the other thing is there are a lot of people out there now who say, well, we're just doing what other countries do. But we're not other countries. We're the United States of America. There's this very, very pernicious thing that's happening, and it's infesting the minds of a lot of people on the right, and it's very post-Christian. And that is that we should just behave the way the other side behaves. We should do what the other side does. And now we're just going to behave like every other country, except we're not. We're the United States. We are better than every other country, and so we should behave better than every other country. And so when we round up people to deport them, we should deport them, but we should at least check to make sure they're American citizens first. Instead of like we're throwing them in jail and then we're asking questions. And I have a problem with that as an American. I think we should throw the illegal immigrants out. And frankly, I think we should probably get Congress to expand the number of judges who can rapidly do these deportations, because I am really concerned. I mean, this goes back to the question, do you want to give the death penalty to an innocent man? And the old statement has been, it's better to let a guilty man go than to execute an innocent man. And while I have flippantly said in the past, no, actually execute the innocent man, it's a good deterrent, when we're rounding up 3 American citizens just because they look too Hispanic and throwing them in jail and lining them up for deportation, then we say, oh, wait, they're American citizens, we got to release them. Why did they get rounded up in the first place? There are mistakes happening, and it's the mistakes that risk undermining the whole enterprise. And that ultimately gets to my point here, for those of you who aren't yelling at me on the radio, is I want the illegal immigrants to be deported from this country, and I want it to be done expeditiously. But when we accidentally are rounding up American citizens in the process, that slows the whole thing down too slow. We got to exercise more caution. And if we are throwing a girl out of this country just because she wrote an op-ed, I think that's bad, because we in this country pride ourselves on free speech. We get lectured by other countries these days on free speech, and we push back. J.D. Vance, for God's sakes, just went to Europe and lectured them on their lack of free speech. And now we don't have any moral ground to stand on when they say, aha, this girl, all she did was write an op-ed and you're throwing her out of your country. You don't really like free speech. Now, if the claims are true, and let's be very clear that she actually did participate in taking over a college campus building, or participated in the pro-Hamas protests that harassed Jewish students, throw her out of here yesterday. If it was just the op-ed, though, I think we got to be weary. And I say it like this. If you remember, back during the Obama administration, many people on the right became convinced of the FEMA camps, that they were going to round up American citizens and throw them in FEMA camps. And those of us who knew it was a crazy conspiracy theory said, wait, there's a due process issue. These are American citizens. Precedents matter. The precedents had never been set to round people up before checking if they were an American citizen. And guess what Donald Trump has done? He's now set that precedent. We can round people up and then ask questions later. Shoot first, ask questions later. It's never a good policy position. We've made 3 mistakes so far, and you can say that's not a whole lot. Get over yourself, Erickson. And I get that, but also these are 3 mistakes that are going to grind the whole process down. I agree on the frustrations of federal judges slowing stuff down. In fact, the Trump administration is pointing this out to the Supreme Court today, saying that in all the 4 years of Biden's administration, there were 15 nationwide injunctions against him, and in February alone, there were 14 against the Trump administration. We've got to rein in the federal judges, but also we probably need more judges who can process the deportations quickly. But we're not other countries. We're the United States of America. I thoroughly agree with what Marco Rubio said. If someone came into your house and started throwing mud on your furniture, you would boot them out of your house. And a lot of the people on these college campuses, these pro-Hamas protesters, they need to be booted out. They're not really here for free speech. Some of them we've now seen on their tweets before they came here. They were on social media saying how they had gotten their visas to the United States and they were going to go learn how to tear this country down from the inside out. Yeah, send that person home. Send home the illegal aliens and do it as quickly as you can. But make sure they're illegal aliens first. And be honest about it. You can say on the left that it is cruel and without compassion to deport some of these illegal aliens. I say it's cruel and without compassion to have them here in this country, draining American resources and depriving Americans of those resources when the Americans who actually pay the taxes need those resources first. But I also say, if we've accidentally now rounded up 3 American citizens, it's going to happen again. And we don't want to undermine the process. So perhaps we need to slow the process down a little further just to be sure we're not screwing up, because what's going to happen otherwise is the judiciary is going to step in and undermine the entire enterprise. And I want them out of this country. But I want due process. Because you don't know the person is an illegal alien until they've gone through a process to make sure they are. Otherwise, these 3 Americans would have never been put in jail waiting to be deported and only then discovered to be American citizens. So, yes, I support the president and what he's doing, but I also support due process.